Hey guys, welcome to our new episode of the podcast Ilustra Unfiltered. My name is Victor Boyden. I'm an illustrator and also an art director. And here on this podcast, I'm bringing you the other side of illustration. I'm not talking about technique. I'm going to talk to you in this podcast about getting clients, about the commercial part, and also about you, about the illustrator, about the artist. That guy, that girl that is behind the scenes, that is on the stage, not exactly highlighted on the stage, but it's working on the backstage. Yeah, backstage. That's the correct word. Um, so I'm bringing a new vision here with this podcast to talk to you about some things that people usually don't like to talk about. Um, I've been teaching illustrators for the past 5 years. We are on the 6th year talking to illustrators and talking about the commercial part and about getting clients, signing contracts, building portfolios and everything. But after all this time, I think it's time. We are entering a new wave of content needed for artists because the artist itself, herself, has been left behind, has been left aside. Because I've seen so many artists, so many good artists with full of blocks, full of fears that they have huge talent, and it's so sad to see them not enjoying their work, not using all of their power to work with illustration. They could be creating huge books, huge campaigns, huge games. I don't know, being really great professionals, but because of fear and this psychological part of them, so it's a wasted talent, and the industry would benefit so much having these guys, having you working with illustration. So I'm trying to bring this kind of content here. I am not an expert. I am not a therapist. I'm not a professional in the area, but I've seen so much things, and I have gone through so much things. I have struggled so much. Yeah, last year I had a huge depression, felt depressive and apathy and a lot of things. And I'm starting to see the light. I'm starting to see good good things coming. Because I am dealing with this situation, and so I'm bringing this conversation because I think we need to talk more about it. I know that the English, even though I can speak in English, sometimes it's hard to express myself, because especially in this area that I'm not used to talking to, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, so today our subject today is why people fear so much failure. What happens if you fail as an illustrator? I've seen a lot of people really getting frozen, paralyzed, because they fear the failure. They fear being attacked. They imagine so much things that can happen to them. Sometimes it's even funny. But why so much of us quit illustration? Why so much of us have this big dream of working with our art, but a lot of times we left this dream aside and go follow a more safe path, as I can say. At least we see this another path as safer than the artist itself, But why do we get paralyzed? Why do people get frozen? Why people stop developing their portfolio? Why people stop developing their techniques? Why people stop publishing their work? Why people is not is why do think about yourself? Why do you think sometimes you don't put your work on social media? Why don't you put your work on Behance or your portfolio? What keeps you waiting? What freezes you? It's important to think about it, because I know there's a lot of fear of judgment, fear of not being capable of delivering the work that the client asked for us. We are feared of the haters on the internet, But think about failure. what is the most, what failure means to you? What could happen that is so bad if you fail in illustration? For instance, as a doctors, what is a failure for a doctor? For a doctor, is like killing a patient. Yeah. For a lawyer, is losing a case. But for illustrators, what is failure? Not delivering a book, not delivering a cover, not delivering an advertising campaign, the client not liking the work that you did. I think this can be considered failure, but it's we can think about it, we can talk about it, because it's hard for that to happen. Because if you fear delivering really low quality work, let me tell you something. As an art director, when an art director sees your portfolio, when an art director sees your art online and everything that you are capable of doing, and then this art director liked your work and then asked you for a quote and then approved your quote and then send you a job, makes a briefing, if this art director has hired you, that's because you are able to deliver what he is expecting. Sometimes we don't like the final result, and that's really common and normal, okay? But usually, most of the times, that's exactly what the art director was expecting. And if the art director not happy with the result, it's the art director's job to fix it. Not draw for you, of course, but to give you direction until you reach the final result that he was expecting. That's why this person is called art director, because this person gives you direction. Okay, that he isn't like a director in a big company. It directs you like a director in a movie. The same thing. It's part of his job. The job of the art director is not only get your art and put on the graphic project. It is to give you direction to achieve the result that he has in mind. Okay? So again, if an art director has hired you, that's because you are capable of delivering what he is expecting. Okay? Is that clear? So why people fear failure? Okay, a lot of reasons here. Fear of judgment. What people are going to say if they see like a bad illustration on a book cover. That's because of sometimes comparison brings the fear of failure. Thoughts like I'm not able, I'm not capable. Imposter syndrome. Yeah, syndrome. If you think you're an imposter, now it's the time that they are going to discover that I am an imposter. Yeah, like Among Us, the game. Again, sometimes, guys, why is I'm not going to talk so much about imposter syndrome, but I think it's a full episode that we can talk about this. Yeah. But sometimes we achieve a final result that we didn't know how that became reality. Like, oh my God, how did I do that? I don't know. Sometimes that happens, yeah. But it helps us to have this kind of thinking, yeah. So procrastination gives the thoughts of the fear of failing, disbelief in yourself, and also sometimes disbelief in the profession, and most of the times lack of the direction. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do what I want to do in the profession. So this kind of thoughts keeps coming into our minds. What if I fail? What people is going to be to talk about me, to tell me? Again, fear to be ashamed, the humiliation. It's a lot of thoughts that come to us. So, but today I want to talk specifically about the fear of failure, okay? What happens if you fail? What is going to happen? Don't think about the failure itself, like delivering a bad job, like delivering late, not meeting a deadline. But when an artist thinks about failure, I think all of the artist fears come together in here. Oh, I don't know. I turned the camera tracking. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen, but that's okay. I don't know how to turn this. Let me see here. Yeah, it worked. So all of the fears, we have a lot of fears. As I said before, fear of judgment, fear of comparison, I'm not able, procrastination, disbelief, and everything. And when we fail, we think that all of these fears are going to hit us all together. Boom, a huge bump in your face. Yeah, that's what we think about it. So let me just talk about me. Yeah, I was afraid of failing and then not being able to pay my bills. Yeah, I think sometimes maybe it happens to you. And then, because of this fear of failing with illustration and then not being able to pay my bills, it took me to other paths before, to other professions, other areas, like in a pharmacy, advertising agency. These areas, they really were paying the bills, that's okay. But then what they brought to me was a huge emptiness. I felt empty inside. Yeah, really. And then that led me to depression and everything. Depression, apathy, anxiety. So, what was my fear? I used to thought, if I fail, I'm going to be broke. I'm going to be bankruptcy. Yeah. So I'm not going to have something to eat. I'm going to have a huge debt with the banks. I'm not going to be able to provide for my wife, for my son, my daughter. All these fears came into my mind. So I used to think, I can't fail. Yeah, I can't fail. So the fear of failure can be a huge huge push into your career. You can use that as a fuel, or it can freeze you. You can be paralyzed. Okay, both of situations can happen. For me, for most of my career, I use that as a fuel for me to go onwards. Yeah. So if you use that as fuel, it's hard to say this, fuel, yeah. Get like the gasoline and diesel, yeah, fuel. If you use that, you're going to study more, you're going to publish more of your work, you're going to produce more, you're going to prospect more, you're going to find new clients, because you can't fail. Failure is not an option for you because your fear is so huge that you can't let that happen. Yeah, but most of the times, and I've seen this with my students and other artists, most of the times people get a huge block. Then comes creative block, and then personal blocks and everything. But it can be really good for you to fear the failure, okay? But let me tell you something. This is nice, something that I learned in my career and in my personal life. There's a huge life law, universal law of life. And this kind of law also is applied for us artists, not only normal people. You know, but what we fear the most, take note of this. What we fear the most is exactly what we are going to attract to our lives. So if we fear disease, we are going to get sick. If we fear to lose money, that's what is going to happen. We are going to lose our money. If we fear to lose our job, that is going to happen. It's not something magical or mystic, but that happens. You start to create situations that attract this kind of thing for your life. No? And again, we artists, I think it's like, it's part of us, part of being an artist. We have a lot of fears. And that's why I'm thinking, maybe that's why we artists, we struggle so much, because all of our fears, we keep thinking about that. We keep thinking about everything that can happen, and that brings anxiety, and that start to attract this kind of thing to our lives. No, you'll think so much of something. For example, for you to, if you fear of failure because then you're going to be judged about your family, something like that. You'll think so much about that, and that's exactly what is going to happen. I remember when I started creating content in Portuguese, that I used to fear a lot to have haters, you know? And in the beginning, I didn't have this fear. I was only creating my content. I was only putting my message out there, teaching people. And then when my business started to grow, this kind of fear started to come into my mind. And then guess what? The haters started to appear, to give messages and telling things about my message, about my person, and about my drawings. And it was really clear that I attracted that to me, you know? And again, I'm going to say again, we artists, we have a lot of fears. And I think, really think that that's why the profession, our profession, or the professionals in the illustrators, that's why we struggle so much, because all of those fears. So it's really important for us to work on our minds, on our mindset, on our beliefs, for us to have a, I'm going to quote here, clean our mindset, or change our mindset and give direction to prosperity, to good things and success. For us to start to attract these kind of situations, we need to attract success for us and not fear, not failure. No? It's really, really, really important. I used to not believe in this back like in 10 years ago. That's not the case. It's not that I didn't believe in this, but I wasn't aware of this. It's different. But when I started to be aware of this kind of thing, that we can create the things that is going to come into our lives, that we are fully responsible for what happens in our lives, it was life-changing. Really, really, really life-changing for me. You know, I used to think back in the days like that I could have only a successful career or personal life. And then I read a book, I'm not sure in English, like in Portuguese, translating to Portuguese, like The Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. I think that's the case. Let me check here on the internet. I think it's the same, Secrets of the Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. In that book, the author said, you don't need to have one thing or other thing. He said that rich people, millionaires, they have all of them. And then I said, okay, so I can have both successful career and also a good personal life. Yeah, that balance, it happened. And that really started to happen for me. So imagine this. Let's come back for artists. Imagine that we have hypothetically, I don't know, I'm not sure if this word exists in English, guys. I'm sorry. But imagine this, two artists. And these artists, they have the same portfolio, or exactly, they work on the same industry, like advertising, like let's use advertising example. They have the same portfolio, same quality, everything, same skill level, everything. One is afraid of not delivering good work, or not being able to pay their bills. A lot of fears. And the other one is full of confidence. He believes in his success. He believes that he is special and he can make he can change the world with his art. He puts a lot of love in his art. And the other one creates the art with fear. No, one creates with love, and the other one creates with fear. Yeah. The one that creates with love and thinks about success and doesn't have, it's not so much fearful, this person has a lot of more chances of getting the bigger clients, of being paid more, and everything. Just for the example, imagine they are exact the same, but different mindsets. Okay, um, but if you focus on fear and failure, again, that's what is going to attract you to your life. What you put focus on, that's what is going to grow in your life. Um, and again, I think that it happens. I said I think on the last episode, that's because our art, our work, is exposed to other people's judgment all the time. Like our work, like designers, musicians, artists. Yeah, people see our work with their eyes. They feel our art. So that's why we imagine a lot of the we start to imagine the other people's opinion about our work. We start to imagine what they are going to. I remember one good example here. I was talking to my wife at lunch like 2 hours ago, and I said, in my career, my work has been stolen, like used by other companies only twice, like in 16 years, only twice. Is that because my art sucks? Yeah, maybe, but that's because I don't focus on that. On the other side, I've seen a lot of students of mine, like people that put like they sign their art, they want to put watermarks over their art, or so other people can't steal their art. And for these people, for these students, it has happened a lot of times, a lot of times, because again, they have focused on their art being stolen by other companies. Okay, by other companies. Maybe it happened to me, but I didn't know. The news that my art has been stolen didn't come to me. It may be possible, but again, as I am aware, only twice in 16 years. And it wasn't something big with big companies. No, it was a person that didn't know how copyright works, how that it was supposed to pay for art. Oh, it's on the internet, so I thought I could use it. It was because I spoke to the person. But again, only twice, because I don't put my focus on that. I'm always focusing on creating new awesome art, on having fun with my art. And this kind of thought also helps you to develop your style, to be free when you're drawing, because you're focusing on the love that you're putting on your art. Really important. Really, really, really important. Okay. So to change this, as I said before, we need to clean our mind, clean our mindset. We need to change our mind patterns. We need to change the stories that we tell to ourselves. Guys, we are storytellers. We draw stories. Oh, Victor, but you work with the advertising. Yeah, we are drawing stories. Okay, you're drawing stories for brands. We draw stories. We are storytellers. So we have the power to tell for us, to our minds, a different story. We can tell a story of success, a story of good things happening to us. Okay? Do that. Do that like for the next month. Tell different stories for yourself. You're going to see a huge difference in your life. Okay? Okay. So let's understand, what is failure? What is failure? Maybe not paying your bills, maybe not getting better with your art. Maybe you consider failure like trying to work full time with illustration, then having to go back and have another job. Maybe that's failure for you. Have like a small audience on Instagram, have a small, just a few followers, put an art online and it flopping. What is so strong that it can freeze you? Judgment, being ashamed. What comes? Think about what comes after failure. Okay? You fail, and then what comes after that? For instance, like a Formula One racer. This person can die, yeah? It's really dangerous. The fear is real. But again, guys, for us artists, our fears, they're not real. Our fears are not real. Repeat that to yourself. My fears are not real. So one way that I use to overcome fear is by facing it. Okay? One of my, like 15 years ago, yeah, 15 years ago, exactly 15 years ago, I was afraid of have so much debt that I wasn't able to pay for it. Okay, so back then I was an art director, I was in an advertising agency. And what happened is that we had a big contract in the agency, and then we lost that contract. So we couldn't pay the bills for our employees back then. We had to like lay off, a huge layoff in the company. I didn't have how to pay my bills. I had to go to the banks and low money, get money from the banks. It was really, my fears became true. Yeah, my nightmares became true. And then the worst scenario possible happened to me. And then I said to my wife, well, we are breathing. We have each other. We are alive. It's not so bad like I thought it was going to be. When I faced my worst fear, I got a huge peace inside of me. A huge peace state of my life started to be peaceful, you know. So imagine, what is your biggest fear? I know that everyone has different fears, but what is your biggest fear? And think about it. Imagine that it has happened in your life. Imagine you living the situation of your biggest fear. Feel it. What do you feel inside your body? What do you feel inside in your chest? Imagine you like in the street, living the situation with the fear. Imagine that you delivered your worst illustration ever. And then a lot of people, your illustration went viral on Instagram because it was so bad. People started to laugh at you. And you became famous on the internet because of your bad drawing. Imagine that. How would be your life like that? Probably you would like turn off your Instagram, delete your account maybe. But then you would be healthy. You would be like, you would search for comfort with your family or your loved ones. You would be fine. Like 1 day, 2 days, 1 week after, things would start to settle down, start to come back to normal. People would forget about your bad drawing that went viral. And then you could start everything again. And we as artists, we have an advantage. Like we could create another profile, another portfolio, and start from zero with the knowledge that you have now. I created, like it was 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago, I created an illustration from zero as an experiment, and my students could follow the evolution of that illustrator. Literally, guys, nobody knew that was me but my students. But I was creating a new career, and we can do that. A doctor probably won't be able to do that. A lawyer won't be able to do that. But we can start from zero. We can change directions, okay? this is like a, this thought for me, it brings a lot of peace of mind, you know. So again, I have lived my biggest dreams, and I can guarantee to you that the hardest days in our lives are the best ones. But of course, we don't see that when we are going through them. When we go like when we overcome this hard part of our life, then we see that that failure was needed for us to grow, was needed for us to go into another level. No, so there's a quote, I think it's from Napoleon Hill, that he says like, every failure brings together a seed of success with the same size of the failure. So if you have a small failure, you have a small seed of opportunity. And when you have a huge failure, you have a seed of opportunity, a huge seed of opportunity. That's why when we go like to the bottom, we come back again stronger, and we have like a change in our lives. Okay, so if this is so good for us to grow, for us to have a new life, or for us to live our dream life, why do you fear so much to fail? We need to, yeah, I'm not going to say that because I've seen people say like, you need to like fear, you need to like failure, you need to love failure. It's hard. In theory, it's easy to do that, but again, but I think we need to get used to that. Failure is part of our life. It's part of our journey, and then it is going. We always overcome our failure, and then we get to the other side bigger and stronger. Okay. I've seen artists. This is nice. I've seen artists coming to me saying, "Oh, Victor, this is so hard. I'm going to quit illustration. This is not for me. I have failed." And then I said, "Okay, let me see your portfolio." And then the person sends me the link. And on their portfolio, they have like 5 illustrations, five projects. And I say, "Man, you haven't even started yet. With 5 projects on your portfolio, you haven't failed. You just gave your first step. You didn't fail if you have only. You haven't failed if you have only 5 projects on your portfolio. Okay, you have failed to try to start working with illustration. Okay, you need to have like 10 pieces in your portfolio, 20 pieces in your portfolio. You need to be searching for a lot of clients. Then other students of mine, oh, Victor, I am prospecting. I've sent in like 40 emails, 50 emails, and nobody answered me. I think it doesn't work." You need to do that like 50 emails a day. If you want it so much, you need to put effort on that. Okay, you need to put effort. You haven't failed if you haven't tried. Okay? If you haven't tried, you let your fears win. You have let your fears win over you. Okay? So you need to put yourself in movement. You need to go on and on and on and produce more and more and more and more, and evolve your art. And be certain that you need to give one step at a time. Okay, this is really, really, really important. If you fail, as I said before, if you fail, put yourself in movement. And if you fail, you can start again. You can change direction. Okay. I have something that is really clear for me. I like to imagine myself like with 80 years old, in my house, watching the rain, sitting on the chair, a little blanket with me, maybe drinking a cup of coffee. I'm not sure if the doctors are going to allow me to drink coffee when I'm 80 years old, but I like to imagine me with 80 years old. And I'm sure that the only regret that I'm going to have, the only thing that I'm going to consider as failure is the things that I didn't try. Oh, I didn't try to work hard on the stock market. I didn't jump with like on bungee jump. I didn't did skydiving, this kind of thing. That is going to be failure for me. But I'm not going to regret if I created a company and then that didn't work. I created a new product and it didn't work. For instance, guys, this kind of my project, my international project, I have started it like in August. It's been like 8 or 9 months, okay? And it still hasn't get to the point that I went to. It's still starting, but I'm not going to quit because I know that one step at a time. What can I do? I need to be creating contact. I need to create content. I need to be sending my message. I need to be talking to you, reading the chat like Oswald and Flavio. I need to be sending my newsletters. I need to keep creating my art. That's what I can do. The results, I can control them, but I can focus on the good part, focus on success and positivity, because then I'm going to be connected with you and other people that connect, that other people that connect with my message. No, again, as not as an illustrator, but now as a content creator, I can focus on the hater, or I can focus on you that is watching me. That what I'm saying makes sense to you. If I focus on the bad part, on the fear, I'm going to quit. And bad things are going to start to happen to me. But if I focus on the good part, on the success, and helping you, and hoping that my message touched you and made a difference in your life, and then you come back telling me that, a lot of nice things start to happen, and that is my focus. So you need to do the same kind of things. You need to have the same kind of thought about your art. Focus on the good part. Focus on the joy of the process of illustrating. Focus on creating art for you first, and then finding your niche. You need to focus on creating art for you first, art that is connected with your values and your beliefs, and then to attract companies and people that are connected with what you create. We need to focus again on the change that we can make to people. And then the fears are going away. It's okay to fail. Failure is part of the process. And coming back to the drawing, to the illustration itself, what makes my art different from yours? My mistakes. A perfect straight line or a perfect drawn circle. If you train a lot, I can do that, and you can also do that. But again, all my shaky lines and my deformed circle is different. It's only me. Like the signature, when the police is going to see if a signature is real, they look for the imperfections. That's exactly in the imperfections that they can see that the letter, the letter is yours and not mine, for example. When I draw the B for my name, in the top part of the B, usually I put less pressure on the pen, and then there is a small fail in the signature. That's one of my characteristics. It's part of my DNA, about my art, about my signature. So in the art illustration, it's the same. you need to accept failure. Okay? The more you fight against failure, more it's going to chase you, more fearful of failure you're going to feel. Okay? Oh, you see what I'm talking about here? Flavio said, if you're watching or listening to the recording, Flavio, he's here on the chat. He's one of my students, class 13 of Ilustra SA. And he said, I never had a chance to tell you that the meditation video is the most important in the course to me. So Ilustra SA is a course that teaches people how to get clients and build their portfolio and strategies, commercial strategies. But one of the most important content there is the meditation one. You see, we need to focus, and thank you, Flavio, for telling me that, because I used to think that I couldn't talk so much about this because I was afraid of judgment, what people would say, an artist talking about meditation and spirituality, and then, but sometimes, can you imagine like all the opportunities or all the people that I could be connected, but I didn't do that because I was afraid of failure, and thank you again, Flavio, because that's why I'm start to focus here on my international content. I started to focus on the same kind of content that I used to do in Brazil, like getting clients, portfolio, prospection, and how to write the email for you to contact our directors, how to find their contacts and everything. But here now, I'm starting to give I'm starting to change here. I'm going to talk to the artists. We can have so much blocks as we have. We need to work on our mindsets. We need to work with our spirituality. And I'm going to put a lot of effort, and I'm going to concentrate on this kind of content, because especially in the international market, we do have other people already talking about building portfolio, about selling your art online, how to creating content and everything. But people really don't. People forget about the artist, about the person creating, about their struggles, about the anxiety that the artists have when they wake up and they don't feel confident. Last week or 2 weeks ago, yeah, on the last episode, we talked about self-confidence. We need to talk more about it, okay? So if you are watching the recording, please leave your comment. What do you think about it? Please follow me on my new Instagram account, international account. It's Bearing Ilo. It's here on the description if you still don't follow me there, okay? And I'm going to start to bring a lot of more content here, okay? And I'm going to start to send every week a newsletter to who subscribes. But again, I still don't have a landing page for you to subscribe. We are working on that. But people who made part of last webinars and all other content from me are already getting these emails, okay? But we are working on the landing page for you to subscribe to this newsletter, because again, I want to intensify this kind of content, okay, guys? So we are going to the last part here. So if you are starting your career in illustration, be sure that you are going to fail, okay? You are going to fail. Sooner or later, but you are going to fail. But that's what is going to bring you experience. That's what is going to shape you as a professional. Okay? That's what is going to make a difference from you to other artists. Okay? So artists, in the end of the day, we are always looking for prosperity and abundance. But because we fear failure so much, we create this bad scenario in our minds, and that keeps pushing our prosperity away all the time. So again, we need to work on the fear of failing, so we can clear our mind. Okay, that's the big message here on this episode. So one secret that I learned with a lot of failures and I learned in the hard way. Lorena, another student. Hi, Lorena. Oh, awesome. Thank you, Lorena. Lorena is saying here that also my student is struggling a lot for personal reasons. Again, guys, you see, it's not technique. It's not like the commercial. It's not how to build portfolio. But she knows. But again, personal reasons. So that's why we need to talk more about it. Okay. Thanks again, Lorena. And if you please feel free to send a message to me for me. I can help it the best that I can. Okay. So one secret that I learned, and I learned in the hard way, we need to control our expectations. We need to control our fears, but we need also to control our expectations. Failure only happens if you have an expectation. You create something in your mind how things should happen, and you create an expectation that that should happen. And when that happens, then you consider it failure. Okay? So an expectation, please keep in mind, expectation is different from having goals. You do need to have goals in your life, in your career. But expectation is usually when you think that goal should happen in a certain way. Okay? But this, guys, again, is the subject of our next week. we can talk about expectations in our career. Okay, so we are going to talk about this on the next episode. Hope you liked this episode. It's a little philosophical, but I think if it makes sense for you, please give a like here on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube now and also on Spotify. Okay, guys, so see you next week. Bye.